Hi, it's Robert and Tim, and we are here to discuss the INTP personality or orientation. Tim is an INTP. I happen to be an INFP. I'll be adding my 2 cents throughout, but Tim is the star of the show.
Well, one of the interesting things about the INTP has to do with dating and relationships. In my experience, I'm very particular about who I want to be in a relationship with, but it creates a lot of confusion in my dating life because I might be really attracted to somebody physically or in terms of their personality or something, and so I'll have a desire to get together with them and connect with them, but then they don't meet this other criteria that has to do with my kind of thinking, like philosophical, spiritual, psychological needs, and my need to have a dialogue or a connection on those levels with somebody. So it can become a confusion because part of me really likes the chemistry or the sexual or the personality connection or the emotional connection, but then if it's missing this, I'll feel ambivalent. So then I end up acting like an avoidant in terms of avoidant attachment, but that's not necessarily helpful for me to see it as just an avoidant attachment, because it also has my personality. Being an INTP has a lot to do with how I came into that situation. So I think it may be better to see it as that I'm, just to be more clear, that I'm very particular about who I will be in a long-term relationship with, even though I'm attracted to many different types of people. And so I'm trying to get more clear about that up front, so I don't end up even getting involved at all with people that I don't have this more philosophical or spiritual or psychological connection with, knowing that in the long term I won't be willing to be with them. And so I'm hoping to save myself and my dating partner's pain from getting involved and then having to split up when I realize that need is not being met. But I still have some confusion about whether or not I'm just manifesting a fearful, avoidant attachment style. Excuse me. Which could be the case. I think I do have some tendencies towards that. But then again, I think some of this has to do with my genuine preferences too, as I was talking about.
So for those who don't know, the INTP orientation is introverted, it is intuitive, it is thinking, and it is perceptive.
Okay, see you later.
Bye. As opposed to extroverted, instinctual, feeling, and judgmental. So what does introversion, how does introversion relate to this dynamic, do you think?
Well, I guess I'm not sure, but I think I need to have somebody that also, in terms of a dating partner, I need to have somebody who also values reflection and thinking deeply about things, whether it's philosophical things or spiritual or psychological. I think I would be happy with even just one of those. But it's a way of reflecting and thinking about the reflections in a deep way, not just thinking for the sake of thinking, but thinking in a deep way that sheds insight and makes life more meaningful, stuff like that. So when I get in a relationship that might be a great sexual relationship or in terms of emotional connection, but it's missing this depth of thought, what can end up happening is that I end up feeling kind of more likely to feel engulfed by that relationship, and more likely to feel emptiness when I think about the relationship. Like it feels kind of empty to me if it doesn't have this other quality. Almost like it's boring, even though it might be extremely passionate sexually or emotionally, but in another sense it's boring to me if it doesn't have this other quality.
Mm-hmm. 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 Just as an introvert, I noticed that for me that involves people being self-aware of how they're affecting one another in the relationship. So I noticed that about my therapist and about myself as a therapist. As an introvert, I'm hypersensitive to whether or not the other person is keenly aware of how their presentation is affecting the relationship in the moment. I think that's the quality of an introvert. I'm not sure, how does that relate, or does it relate?
That does, I think it would relate in some way, like to have an awareness of how oneself is impacting the other, and how the other is impacting oneself, and then to be able to talk about that, or
To be able to talk about that even. Yeah.
Put it into words.
Put it into words. That would be more the thinking function.
I guess it would, yeah.
Mm. Or I just have an emotional reaction to people who are like that. I develop a natural fondness for them, and if they're not like that, then I feel a natural repulsion by them. Yeah. But I think that putting it into words would be very helpful, and to talk about the nature of the relationship in the moment. Yeah, that'd be a very interesting conversation for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like if I don't have that, I just feel like I do tend to feel like engulfed by being in a relationship, like it's really passionate or emotional. It just feels like I'm on this like roller coaster ride, but there's no meaning to it. But if I can have that reflection and talking about it, that provides the meaning that allows me to feel comfortable on going on that ride.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
Willing to go on the ride, I guess.
Willing to go on the ride, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes. I had a situation with my supervisor like that where she had failed to switch the sign over from in session to please knock and come in, knock and enter. And so I knocked and entered, and she had this pretty strong emotional reaction, oh, I'm in session. And so I closed the door, and later, I had to address that with her. I had to address the fact that I was feeling uncomfortable when I had walked in and found out that she was in session. And unfortunately, she said, well, don't worry about it, And that was somewhat satisfying, because I was worried about it. I was worried about how it made her feel, but I didn't get to talk about how it made me feel. And I think that would have been a rewarding conversation to have her acknowledge my feelings and acknowledge that she was contributing to my ill feelings, and for her to take, responsibility in part, for having generated those ill feelings in me,
Huh. Yeah.
That would have been a more INTP process.
Yeah. I think other types could probably do it too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
In fact, other types might even do it better than an INTP.
Huh.
Because the INTPs are not known for being excellent communicators.
Okay.
But they can become better communicators if they're matched, especially if they're matched with other types that are good communicators.
Okay. What else do you want to say about INTP? This is a Jungian typology we're using. What's the name of the test?
The Myers-Briggs test.
The Myers-Briggs Personality Inventory. What else?
Well, I would say it's been hard being an INTP, and sometimes when I read the books about it, I feel kind of like a sense of relief that it's not just my fault that I've had struggles, some of the struggles I've had in my life with, especially around dating, as I mentioned, like being really picky about who I'm willing to be in a relationship with it's been hard, and I don't recommend it, but in a way it's comforting to know that this is my personality. It's not my choice that I have these issues, and there's also gifts that come with the issues as well, gifts that the INTP has that other types don't have, and each type has its own gifts and its own problems associated with it.
That's 10 minutes. Do you feel like there's anything else you want to share?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, that's all for now. We're signing off.
Cut.